Hey, what's going on, guys? Enigma here, back with another video, of course. The last one was kind of the same format, other than obviously my Discord pulled up. It was the in-game stuff. This time around, we're going to be doing the breakdown of the patch notes coming within a day. Obviously, right now, it's the 3rd. It's going to be the 3rd when I upload this video for me, but that's supposed to be going into effect the 5th with the preseason wipe. So essentially, both of these things will be happening at the same time. That's probably why the maintenance that we see at the top is going to be so long. I believe that's what, 4 hours. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of big stuff that they had discussions on. That the developers doing a discussion, kind of balancing that they took kind of people's opinions, decided to go with it, decided maybe not to go with it. Really enjoyed seeing that from the dev team themselves. Shout out to you guys. But there's a lot of stuff to unpack here, so let's just go right into it. Obviously, the game itself, we talked about sort of season 2, preseason number 2. This is gonna be the second season. It's gonna be a bit longer than the first. It's gonna have some more, as you'd say, items that you can get in the game and stuff like that. But for the most part, obviously, since we're in season 1, what stuff is getting reset and what's not? Well, we can see here right now. They made a list, just very easy for you guys to kind of see what you get to keep and what you get to kind of expect to lose when the wipe happens, when that new season happens. The main stuff that's not resetting is going to be any of your expansion slots, the backpack stuff, platinum coins, any of the ticket stuff, chests. That's a big one that a lot of people might not were really recognizing, or at least like the reward chest for what rank you received, your costumes, stuff like that. Another one as well is going to be your experience on your account. Now, I'm not sure if this is characters. I don't believe this will be characters. If it is, that's only a bonus, right? So you don't have to grind a level. I guess it's what, 15, 17 to have all your skills and stuff like that you want to try and use on a certain class. But the big thing that's going to be resetting is going to be your mercenaries, your season collections. So when you go to collections, that's stuff that you turn in every time after runs. You get bonuses like health, damage, all that sort of jive. Um, there's different tabs like seasonal, um, general, and then like whatever. We can see here, event and common collections. You're only losing the seasonal. So you doing the common and event collections, you want to make sure you do as much of those as possible. If you have 200,000 gold, start hitting that trade market, start buying it, start making sure your collections go up because you will keep those in all future seasons. It's not just that. Um, Obviously, for your season coins, you want to make sure you use those. You don't want to waste. You don't want to sit on them. Um, Obviously, gear score and stuff like that, depending on what you have, is all going to be converted for you to be able to keep it and stuff like that. But the main stuff that obviously we're really kind of wanting to look forward to is going to be the dungeon changes and stuff like that. So the main one's going to be they're adding unique armors and weapons, kind of like how there was in the last playtest, at least for weapons. We see it here in the screenshot. Gold looking item. It's essentially like the rings and stuff like that. Ghost King rings, Ghost King belt. Now, obviously, it's going to be this stuff. Hopefully, they have unique named weapons. I'm not sure if they will or not. If you ever played PC, they had stuff where it's like the bow. Let's say a recurve bow, for example, has poison shot or has knockback per hit. It's a super rare item, but it's something that is a high valued item and is really insane when it comes to PvP side of things. They made some quest changes in the game. A lot of this stuff is kind of more the stuff you can look over. The big thing, though, is if you're wanting to play Forgotten Castle trios, you don't have to worry about just 2 blues. There's 3s. Now you don't get camped if they spawn in the same room. Obviously, red is going to be the same. Or actually, no, excuse me. It's going to be red portals. I had read that wrong completely. So if you're wanting to go into hell, the red portal, obviously hell, I call it hell, even though the tier of the map is usually hell. The red portals are going to be going to 3, so you will not be getting camped, you will not be getting kept, and it's harder for people to recognize when someone's in hell with you. And in my opinion, I've always loved hell fights more than regular fights. Imagine you trying to strafe around Ghost King and someone's full chasing you. I think I have a clip of that on stream as well. I could pull up. We'll maybe upload that tomorrow, to say the least, for you guys to kind of get a better picture of it. But one of those things that people really haven't been able to kind of do too much, I think, mostly because it's solos, but also when they play trios, they don't have an actual trio squad like myself. People, tend to steal loot and all that. It's not an enjoyable experience. You can ping on the map. That's a big one if you're playing with randoms. You can do it without using voice comms and stuff like that. If you're playing with friends, you all understand the sitch. You can do that sort of thing. Combat. They're adding a new stat that you can get an item. So another one that kind of gets thrown into the mix, that hat pile, to say the least. Just potion effect duration. So I think that's more like charm, or not charm, excuse me, like the willpower bar or the health bar. Your potions for those, like the blue and the red pots, the duration will be longer. So you don't have to worry about having to chug 9 or 10 health pots for your barbarian. You can maybe just chug 1 or 2. And it'll be kind of the same effect. Even though you'll get more HP out of each potion, that might be worth in some regards, right? Obviously, they've done a lot of clutter, excuse me. For visuals, you're able to understand what people have kind of used, especially with wizard stuff, especially with potions. You know what people kind of have on them before you go into a fight. Especially if you had a lower end device, if you didn't have the graphics up, I believe you weren't able to see certain things. So nice stuff for them, especially with kind of if you're in the higher tiered levels, you want to make sure you understand exactly what someone has in terms of either gear or just what effects are on them before you go into a fight. Some visual stuff with items, a lot of physical changes when it comes to if you have impact power and stuff like that. One big thing, though, that I'd like to make a note of before we kind of move on is going to be this physical power stat. This gets applied to shields now. It's not going to just be your physical damage bonus or your physical damage stat. So your physical power, which you get, I believe, from strength, that will be applied to your shields. It's not like you have to stack just Vigor because strength doesn't work towards your shields. This will work. Buckler will become a God forbidden item, to say the least. I was a believer of it, and I knew seeing the fighter players and solos, some people were starting to get really, really cracked with it. Increased bleeds from traps and stuff. I think this is very much needed. Maybe it could have been percent HP based, so like barbarians take more damage when going through or stuff like that, or maybe it's armor based. Would have been kind of neat to see that, but instead there's like, we're just gonna make it a flat amount. It's gonna be increased. I never knew throwing jars made players bleed. But for the rest of this stuff, I mean, a lot of this kind of just comes down to things that were needed in the game, just maybe weren't able to see until live time with such a mass amount of players in the game. Crouching, you will be slowed by 20%. You will not be seeing the speed demons like before, where you're basically the same speed. You will have the move speed reduction out trying to creep around. So really hard to kind of sneak up on people so fast. I think it's still a very much a big thing in this game if people aren't paying attention or maybe they just fought. But it's not like you're going to be a speed demon running right up to him. One-handed crossbow got hit with the nerf. A lot of this stuff just comes down to either impacts or kind of just damage. The spear getting a buff. Obviously, we knew the devs were talking about buffing bows. I'm planning on playing a lot of ranger on reset to see if the class is really kind of worth in any way. And I do believe, gosh, let me see. I guess it's not here, but it'll be down here, I believe. The main thing that we're all wanting, right, is going to be class changes. A lot of the stuff is revolving around rogues and wizards, maybe buffing ranger and cleric. A lot of the stuff that they had discussions about in the chat here, the dev direct, did become things in the game, which was really awesome to see. For fighter, a lot of this is just going to be kind of maybe just different skills that you could run. They have the stats to see what's kind of the pick rate, what's the usage rate of some of these skills, perks, abilities, whatever title you want to put to them, the passive and the active ones. And they made a lot of them more viable. Some of the stuff got tuned down, some of the stuff got increased. The big one that I think fighters are going to be seeing a lot of is going to be the spear mastery, especially if you start seeing like javelin throws, you're starting to run full strength, like you're running that whole like I'm a David versus Goliath kind of thing with the spear. It'd be really funny to see, even though people would hate it because there's so many rogues and wizards now, right? Barbarians, they got a bit of a nerf. One big thing that I do enjoy seeing is the throwing axe mastery. This is going to be just like the throwing axe secondary ability. You're able to kind of spam that over and over. This got a big buff because I was annoyed at seeing rogues having more velocity, doing more damage than a barbarian that's throwing a literal axe over a throwing knife. So at least they got some love. Obviously, I know barbarians, we were all kind of annoyed with the the health stacking, they haven't made any note of that just yet, I believe, in these patch notes when I did a little once over of it. For these other classes, though, there was some big changes. Obviously, Rogue, Weak Point, some of this other stuff really got buffed, to say the least. For the Silhouette, I'm happy that they made the interval 6 seconds. 4 seconds was just way too easy for you to spot someone. You can actually juke someone out now. You can maybe creep right up on them to get kind of the jump on people. Really hard for people to kind of understand. Now, my class, guys, the Cleric. This thing got hit with the biggest buffs fucking imaginable. I mean, the Holy Light, which is the point and click heal, the protection spell, it got buffed. The Blazing Ray got buffed. The Bind got buffed. It's an AoE bind now, which is crazy, by the way. I think it's almost like a fireball. It's like a point, or it's not a point. It's an aim skill shot. And if everyone's in a party around each other, it'll bind all of them. Resurrection can now be used on a knocked teammate. So if someone's kind of in a fight or you can't cross to them, you can immediately cast a skill and start reviving that player. Really kind of sick to see, to say the least. I don't think it'd really be that viable of a skill still. But it's just something neat to kind of take note of. Healing Shield. A lot of this stuff is just more scaling or flat base increases. And I'm all for it, right? Cleric was pretty useless other than being a heal bot. You're playing around a Barbarian that's already OP of a class. If you have HP stacking and stuff like that, if you were any of those Hellgrinders in Forgotten Castle, you understood that people were running double Barbarian Wizard from the Chinese squads rocking God gear. Now, we ran into them a few times. You win some, you lose some, right? For the most part, it's just those people are running the best classes with the best gear. And that's how it should be in the highest dungeon tier, right? You should be running kind of something that is whatever. You shouldn't be able to fight someone in support gear when they have literally the best gear in the game. So this class, I think, is going to be super pivotal when it comes to being either a support or a damage tanky kind of class. We can also see here they removed the incoming damage penalty for advanced heal, which means if you run this with Magic Mastery, obviously the Magic Mastery, this applies to damage, but if you run both of them and you were to run Chalice or something, you'd be doing massive amounts of healing and damage on the Chalice itself. Protection from Evil passive, I'm not sure what this is, if this is just debuffs and stuff like that. Yeah, it looks like it. Reduction, this would be kind of insane. Like, Cleric's obviously the best class for bossing, right? We've seen it time and time again. That, if you do it with a Barbarian, you both could probably do the boss within 5 minutes. It's not hard at all. But this class, hopefully, we're able to see a lot of this more like bind beam build. I want to try building that maybe on Wipe. A lot of different things that seem pretty viable. It's just a matter of if it's practical or not, right? We all enjoyed memeing around stuff like that, but I want to play the best of the best against the best of the best in lobbies. It's going to maybe be still the sport build, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see, right? Wizard, the crystal ball, the invis skill ability thing, it went from 10 to 6. I don't think people were complaining too much, but having 10 was essentially you could go into every room every 30 seconds and use it, right? Now you're going to have to be a little more modest when you use it. You got to make sure that you're not just spamming it over and over. The big thing, though, that everyone complained about was Sunder Strike. That's the ability that wizards would spam over and over and over and over and over and over again. You wouldn't be able to play the game. You wouldn't be able to move. You just die. The unfortunate thing is they're keeping the shock. So that stun, that interrupt, which for the most part, I think that was a lot of us having a little bit too overeager of a mindset with having stuff kind of removed because it's unfair. I think if you have a lightning spell in the game, yeah, it probably should shock. But these changes hopefully will be enough with having the radius reduced as well as the cast speed taking longer. So you're not getting spammed over and over and over from a support gear wizard. You're able to actually you're going to have to either stack casting speed, wisdom, or you're going to have to go a different spell. Now, I think it's just going to be this change from lightning to fire and ice. Though a lot of people that are wizards right now, they have horrible spacing because they abuse the dashes, right? They abuse the 3 lightning kind of flashes you get. So we'll have to wait and see. It might just be free gear that you could sell in the market. But we'll have to wait and see. And also for the lightning spell, a minor delay on where it lands. So if you're obviously mid swing or mid shot with the bow, you're gonna get hit by the lightning strike probably still. But if you're moving still, or if you go for a juke, it's not undodgeable. Now you have that small window of having that skill expression that we all want in a game like this, right? For Ranger, obviously they're making Spear Mastery a thing. They're bringing it in more damage, more move speed, all that sort of stuff. Ranger's getting a lot of love this patch because it was such a horrible class, to say the least. 5 to 7, this is a big buff for physical power. I really hope that Ranger, I can find it to be viable in this. So you do have a counter against Wizard. That's not just you playing Rogue or running some godforsaken 800 HP Barbarian to try to tank every spell, right? Hunting traps, durations, and damage got increased. Big change for trios, solos as well. The impact force, just the amount of times you can apply it to someone got increased to 3. Weak points, this was, I think, more involving like the legs or something. I forgot, don't quote me on that. But for the physical defense reduction, it's a big one against classes like fighters. So you're actually able to, if you have the skill and stuff like that, if you have the passive on, you will be able to do something against high armored targets. It's still going to be, quite low, but it's not going to be you hitting them for 10 damage since there's no longbow in the game. Sharpshooter getting a buff, all this stuff. Trap mastery, there was a bug in the game. It looked like that it was just retrieving. I never noticed it because I always just hold my traps anyways. I don't always put them down every second. But for the most part, Ranger with short bow and the recurve bow getting velocity increases. Hopefully we're able to see this class really kind of come through with certain builds and not just being a PvE slaying machine. Because you're doing like 200 a headshot, right? 2 mobs and stuff like that. It's just PvP was so horrible. And they wanted it to be a more skill expression thing. It's not, when you were playing this class, it was more of, it's not I'm hitting them because I'm better. I'm hitting them because they're bad. And you being able to see the arrow come in or just even guess with your left eye closed where the shot's going to be, it was way too easy for people just to juke Rangers. So hopefully this class, I'm going to see if it's worth it or not. Obviously, we're talking mobile, online stuff. Maybe someone's on high ping. There's going to be instances like that, right? So it'll be more than one day, probably on stream and stuff like that. Same with the Cleric. I'm not sure if I'm going to run any rogue stuff crazy. I was thinking of just building some spam, like poison build, which would be really obnoxious for people to deal with, right? But we'll have to wait and see and stuff like that. But for the most part, the rest of this stuff, the only big thing I think that's really a good takeaway is for crafting, you now have the option of getting super success to make a unique item. They added legendary armor, so the gold tier, the orange, not the yellow, the orange tier, instead of purple stuff. You can make gold stuff. And with that, of course, you're able to make unique items. I think crafting was something a lot of people missed out on, especially with crafting armor items and any of that stuff. So this is a really nice thing to see. Obviously, if you weren't doing it already, you've been able to have health potions and bandages be crafted for like 10 gold into the gold or the green tiered versions of them. That's why in the high tiered lobbies you see a lot of people grabbing meds over purple items near the end of the season because they want to craft meds. They want to have the best of the best. So when they fight people and they take damage, they heal the most. It looks like they made some changes involving mercenaries. Obviously, they're having it for you to get or see new mercenaries instead of it costing you your platinum coins. It's just going to be gold. I think the devs are realizing a lot of the stuff is not going to be something that should be monetized. There's a lot of solo people in here, and if you have quests that are trios, or if people want to try doing all the bosses for the rings and stuff like that, like the quests they had for the preseason, like Ghost King, you need to give people the option of actually playing it in a fun way. So I'm really happy seeing that. Hiring costs, I mean, I don't care too much about that. It's not like it's going to affect me too much. What's crazy is the mileage shop giving skeleton keys. I think skeleton keys now with the unique items, I believe you will be able to get that potentially as a drop in those chests there, or at least on that platform there. If you watch my YouTube shorts, you can go through it. I've done it once or twice. it was only doing the crafted item sets. So Ghost King, stuff like that. Now they will be able to have unique items, and unique items I think are going to be the main name of the game. We're going to see a lot higher gear scores, and ultimately just a lot more people rocking some pretty sick items. Um, Collections and stuff like that for the most part. Any of this down below is just kind of bug fixes and stuff like that. But my overall thoughts, a lot of people were wanting rogue and wizard changes. I personally wanted there to be more barbarian stuff, whether it's with HP scaling or maybe move speed with swapping items in and out. But that didn't really become a thing. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, the classes like fighter and cleric can go up against barbarian if you have a shield and stuff like that. But for the most part, I felt it was pretty solid changes for the most part from the dev team. They were able to really kind of step it up, I think, take all the information, all the feedback that us streamers, us content creators, and obviously every player that's in the Discord, and really kind of decide what stuff they want to listen to and what stuff they can maybe hold off on and just wait to see if they want to implement it. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like the video. Leave any comments, your thoughts, and stuff like that. I'm more than happy to discuss in the comment section. You guys know I'm free for it as long as I see the notifications in time. Shout out to anyone that's already subbed. I think we're just over the 300 mark now with the help of iStream and stuff like that. Obviously, I did that content creator event with him and Monarch. He shouted us out and stuff like that. So much love to you guys. And anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.